Let's get this sports podcast party started, all right?
The J Reels Podcast.
Why don't you wait until July 1st to make an announcement? What a disgrace. He can rack up all these numbers in October, November, and December, but what really counts is let me see this in January.
The sports rebel without a pause, delivering fast-paced, jam-packed sports talk like no other.
Listen, I gotta call it as I see it. He is not a good player. I'm sick and tired of having to deal with the disappointment of this franchise. When does it stop? And yes, another winter that I can sleep in peace. Coming correct, directed in full effect. Let's get it.
This is the J Reels Podcast. Welcome aboard.
What is happening, my good people? Greetings. How are you? How's it going? How's everybody doing out there? What is the latest and greatest? Hope everybody's doing well, feeling fantastic, in excellent spirits. Now that we can put away the fireworks, even the barbecue grills, maybe even some of the summer cocktails, but that's quite all right, because now that the 4th of July holiday is behind us, right in front of us is the latest edition of what is going to be a jam-packed sports podcast, as this is the J Reels Podcast with Joe J Reels. For my first timers, welcome aboard. And for those who've been banging with me going back to the very beginning, somewhere in the middle, even as early as this past Thursday, I welcome you guys and gals back. And for those who are in the chat room, please post your comments. I'll get to them at the back end of everything that I got to get off my chest and what has transpired over the last few days. And, of course, what's to come here in the sports world. So don't be shy. Please leave a comment and question, whatever it may be, and I'll be sure to answer that once we get to the second hour of our podcast, as you see there on the ticker below. So definitely check that out. But here we are. Now that the celebration of another birthday for America has come and gone, and with it being a lot cooler, considering that we just finished a heat wave here in the tri-state New York area, certainly things have cooled down when it comes to what has happened weather-wise, but certainly not with the sports, and in particular here with the World Cup, because now we are less than 2 weeks away from crowning a champion. In fact, it'll be 2 weeks from yesterday that we'll look at July 19th. That's going to be the big date that is circled, especially now here in my neck of the woods, not necessarily New York, but just here in the United States. And with that being said, there is a lot of hope. I don't want to go as far as saying promise, because there's still a lot of work to do, but there are some people that are thinking, can the U.S. be a team that in 2 weeks could be playing for a World Cup, which would be unprecedented? The furthest we've seen the U.S. is to get to a quarterfinal, which is something that they're going to try to do tonight out in Seattle, Lumen Field, against the Belgium team. And for everybody that has looked forward to this game tonight and wondered whether or not their striker, Folarin Balogun, I know you know me with these names, people. It's tough for me to even pronounce at times. You think it would roll off the tongue at this point? Let's make sure I make this. Balogun, yes. So one more time, Folarin Balogun, who had suffered a red card in the previous game against Bosnia, to where he did inadvertently step on the ankle of the Bosnian player, and at that point, he was going to be suspended and not play in this game tonight. But whether it was just a review, cooler heads, whatever it may be, now you have a scenario where you're going to have Balogun in the lineup tonight, which obviously is a big plus for the U.S. I mean, it goes without saying. And that was to the chagrin of the Belgium coach, to where he came out and said, well, today must be April Fool's Day. Thinking that, how is it that this player is going to come back, considering that he had already been sent to, maybe not even the bench, but sent packing to the point where he's not going to play in the game and now, or in the match. And now it's a situation where, oh, now all of a sudden he's back in. And it makes me wonder about this matchup tonight, because think about what has transpired over the last 48 hours. Number one, you had the Canadian team lose to Morocco, and I understand there was a late flurry there by Morocco in order for them to advance, where Canada, now I understand everybody's crying in their Molsons, including the head coach, which to me, listen, I get it. some sour grapes and a little bitterness on his part. But for him to say that, oh, we were the better team while you lost 3-0, I get it that it got away from them late, and there may have been a play or two or even a shot that certainly could have gone in or an opportunity that certainly went awry. Understood. But when you lose a match like that, you can't say you were the better team. Now, if it was England-Mexico, despite England having the lead, and I'm going to get to that game in a moment, maybe the Mexican coach, and although he was valiant in the post-match interview, but it's still a situation where you cannot come out and say, oh, we were the better team. Obviously, look at the scoreboard, and that's going to indicate that. So with Canada out and then Mexico with what transpired there last night, and which was, listen, it is not only just epic, but it's classic of a World Cup game that you could get. And England now advances for the first time to see if they could get even closer to not only a quarterfinal, semifinal, and final. They haven't won the World Cup. Think about this. 60 years. You got to go back to 1966. So you mean to tell me that a country, a team that is due to get to that point, and maybe this was a big win for them, knowing that it was in hostile environment, obviously down in Mexico. And listen, I get it that Mexico had a flurry there late and certainly made the game interesting. And I'll talk more about England and everything else that happened afterwards, where the kid broke his wrist and it was gruesome injury. I mean, geez, and who knows what's going to happen there. But when Mexico then all of a sudden exits stage right, on top of what happened with Canada on Saturday and now tonight with the U.S., I'd be a little skeptical. And no, not because of the other two countries that have hosted here in this World Cup have been out, and it would make you think that, oh, geez, is the U.S. now next in line to get executed? You could certainly look at it that way, but not based on what we've seen here. To me, I almost feel like having Balogun come back, I only think that's going to fire up the Belgium team. And in fact, I'm sure they're going to look at it like, all right, they're going to be full throttle, no excuses, and I think that's going to actually put a lot of gas in their tank. And that's not to say they didn't need it going into the game, but considering the comments said by the head coach, and yeah, obviously very snarky and certainly a shot at the people who are overlooking and making sure that Balogun and that red card that he got was going to be suspended. And yeah, that could certainly be a dig. But one more time, I really feel that that's going to be to their advantage more so than the U.S. Now, listen, what happens on the field is going to be obviously what's going to be the big key here. And when you have Balogun in there, who obviously had a goal there in the previous game before he got dismissed, and it was a situation where having him back, that's only going to enhance the offense of the U.S. team and, of course, their confidence and their ability to strike, especially when they're going to go mano a mano against this Belgium team. So, me personally, it's a very tricky game. I know that with the U.S. and how they played here so far, they've been dominant. I understand the game against Turkey notwithstanding, but that they already had clinched to get to the round of 32, and that was just a foregone conclusion. But how I look at it is that I think Belgium is going to not only just be loose, but I really think they're going to take this to heart. And I wouldn't be surprised if leading up to the game tonight or the match, how their coach is going to say, hey, their best player's back. Let's see what we can do to take advantage, not only just exploiting whatever weaknesses, et cetera, but to ensure that it is going to be hotly contested, that we cannot get baited or be so aggressive to where you're going to psychologically put yourself in a position to make those mental errors and not get in a rhythm to where you're going to let the U.S. and that player maybe get to them. Who knows if there's going to be words exchanged, anything to try to get an edge. And how I see this game tonight, I would not be surprised if Belgium wins. And I don't want to put all my chips in the middle of the table because of Balogun's return. But again, people could, or teams could look at that as just a log to the fire. Almost like, oh, okay, well, you're going to bring him back, of course, on U.S. soil. That's going to be, you would think, to a disadvantage to our team. But listen, our team is just as good, if not better, considering what happened back in March when they took care of the U.S. in one of those exhibition matches. And now it's a situation where, all right, to advance to the quarters, yeah, you could bring him back. You could bring whomever back, Tony Meola and net, whatever other former U.S. player, Landon Donovan. It doesn't matter because Belgium was going to look at that. It was almost like Michael Jordan. I'm going to take it personal. So therefore, we're going to try to will our will against that competition to advance to the next round. And that's how I look at it with Belgium. I think this could be more of a curse than it is a blessing. Now, Balogun comes out there and he scores 2 goals and end up winning 4-2, then obviously I'm going to look silly. Now, it's not to say that U.S. can't win or they're not going to win. Now, I know that crowd is going to be raucous because they know that they're the last country standing here out of the North American countries that have hosted. And obviously with the majority of the games being here in this country, you know that they're going to do whatever it takes to have the support of that team, to back that team to victory. And even though Belgium, I understand that's going to be a cauldron of emotions, of euphoria, etc., to try to thwart whatever advantage that the home crowd is going to have toward the U.S. team. But I'd have to think that Belgium, I'm sure, they probably replayed this in their head 1,000 times since the ruling came out, not even a little more than 24 hours ago. So to me, listen, I think U.S., they can win the game. And I'm not going to be shocked if they win the game. I mean, I'd be silly. But this little boost that I think for Belgium, and I get it that once the ball is kicked, that's forgotten. Unless it does get, as I mentioned, hotly contested between players, or if they're going to start chirping, or who knows. Anything can happen. But the one thing that you do want is that for it to be fair and square, that it's not going to be because of a dive or a missed call, or they go to the replay and it gets overturned to the point where it's advantageous or even to a disadvantage to whichever squad that's involved. You just want a fair game. And you certainly want it to be a thing where even though the game is right here on American soil, but the last thing you want is for the Americans to get that advantage or to get that quote-unquote home call to where they advance, because you know that that's one of those things that's going to catch up with them at some point. Because unlike maybe some of the other sports that we've watched over the years, whether it's the NFL, baseball, basketball, etc., the U.S., this is going to be not necessarily uncharted territory just yet, but they're certainly going in that direction. And a win tonight will be monumental for the U.S. men's national team. And listen, I'm not going to go that far ahead. We know who that matchup is going to be the next go-around, which obviously is going to be not only just monumental, but it could be even daunting. Spain or Portugal is going to be that next team in line if the U.S. wins. Obviously, we'll have to get past tonight and see what's going to transpire, and we can certainly get into the game. But tonight, I'm fascinated. I think it's going to be great. You obviously have that little theater there with Balogun coming back and the comments from the head coach. So, hey, let's get it on tonight, 8 o'clock, I believe, on Fox, where the first game today is that Spain-Portugal matchup where, who knows? Listen, I would think Spain, a lot of people think that they're the favorites. I think to date, pound for pound, the best team is France. France has just been a machine. They've been a juggernaut. They've shown that. And we could even go back to what happened over the weekend with Paraguay. I know there were things said about Paraguay and some of their tactics and whatever. Well, obviously, that's over and done with. You can't rehash that or reassess that now. Yeah, maybe Paraguay was trying to get whatever advantage that they could, whether it was dirty, whether it was crossing the line, whatever it may be. All right, so be it. But guess what? It didn't work for them because they are home while France is still here trying to get back to a World Cup final. Obviously, we saw that 4 years ago. So that's number one. And as far as England and Mexico, that game last night, man, I have a dear friend of mine who texted me. I have to text him back. I have not, who has roots in England. And he was just astounded, not only just by the victory, but the elements. Of course, they had to postpone the game because of the weather conditions down there. And that crowd was just out of its gourd. And even though England played from in front the whole game, up 2-0 and 3-1 before Mexico made just a tremendous flurry, even in stoppage time. I mean, you couldn't get more of a thrilling World Cup game than that. And I know, shout out to my guy Bio, who could be in the room right now. I'm sure he's licking his wounds based on that result there last night. And listen, that is one that could be, especially for England, if they win the whole thing, they're going to look at that game. And now, listen, they still have a lot of work ahead of them. And we'll get to the brackets. We'll break it all down momentarily. But, man, that was one that I was hoping, no offense to my dear friend John Irving, I was hoping that Mexico would advance only because I would have liked to have seen them gone far. And who knows, if you take a look at the bracket, if there would have been a situation where the U.S. and Mexico, I'm sure maybe before the final would have met up. And I should know the bracket off the top of my head. I don't. So, full disclosure. But one more time, people. I mean, that game, if you didn't watch, I'm sure you could go back and watch the highlights on YouTube. And I get it. You can't get the same effect by watching a 15-minute highlight, which will detail a lot of the scores, a lot of the missed opportunities, things of that nature. But, man, listen, that's the beauty of the World Cup. And I get it. Soccer's not for everybody. Me, I'm just a baby when it comes to this, where there's other people that obviously are well more invested in this sport than I am. And kudos to them. And I get it. Soccer is global. It's enormous worldwide. It pales in comparison, let's face it, even to the NFL here in this country. And yes, we know the NFL's king. We know it's the number one sport. But you go to other pockets of the world, the NFL is not even on their radar. You mean to tell me people in Ghana are watching the NFL as rabid as they are soccer in that country? Well, even in Brazil, and even though I know the NFL's gone to Brazil recently, and maybe there has been some fans that are growing en masse over the last couple of years, but please, people are going to go see Chiefs and Chargers. They'd rather go see their own Brazilian national team go up against whomever, Argentina, Spain, France. I mean, they'd rather go see that than watch the NFL. So, listen, I get it. And I'm not going to be naive or stupid or innocent to think that, oh, no, well, you know, soccer, yeah, I understand it's big globally, but we don't care about it here. And we don't. But because it's being played here, which I believe has an enormous advantage for guys like me who's not in tune with soccer to follow it a little bit more closely. And what's going to really have legs is what's going to happen after this. Now, I get it. When we're talking about the Premier Leagues and all the leagues overseas, et cetera, that's a little bit harder because that means I got to invest in the team and players and even the history of that. And listen, that's homework. I get that as a sports fan. And I should gravitate a little bit toward that considering how big the sport is. But at the same time, not that I would thumb my nose up against it, but it's one of those situations where I'm still not 100% like, despite these last few weeks, as thrilling as it's been, and I mean, not every game has been like that, but I do have to say it's piqued my interest a lot more than it ever has. Now, what kind of traction it's going to get after that remains to be seen. Because it's not as if I'm going to start watching MLS games on the regular or even thinking about watching the leagues overseas. But who knows? Maybe I'll pay a little bit more attention to it to the point where, all right, could this momentum from the World Cup translate down the road? Am I going to start talking about MLS soccer here, especially when we get to a championship? And I know the New York City Football Club won a couple of years ago, but even then, I may have made a mention of it, but not to the point where I'm breaking down injuries and players and matches and things of that nature. But listen, obviously got to be in the moment. We can't think about those leagues and those games down the road. We got to think about where we're at now. And let me take a look at the bracket real quick because I also want to get to, speaking of Brazil momentarily, how about Norway? Erling Haaland, I mean, what more can you say about the guy? He is showing that by far he's one of the handful of top players in the world, scoring the 2 goals, knocking out Brazil. And I know that was a tough pill to swallow because I'm sure there are Brazilians everywhere. And yesterday, I happened to be in Manhattan and parts of Brooklyn where I saw everybody with the yellow and green representing whether they were going out to MetLife to go watch the game or watch parties here throughout the city. But it was emblazoned in the Brazilian colors. And it was one of those things where I thought to myself, I said, wow, with this just a ton of people that are here, not knowing if they were going to the game or not, it made me think that, well, everybody now, I'm sure bars, restaurants, these parties, that wherever they may be, it is going to be full force. And that game yesterday, I mean, listen, It was one that was bittersweet. I understand Neymar did get the goal in the stoppage time. It was 2-0, but 2-1. And obviously, that was another situation similar to England and Mexico where a lot of the flurries, well, the scoring was a little bit earlier in the England-Mexico game, but with the Brazil-Norway, it was a little bit more later. And for Neymar, I know this was the end for him as he's going to retire. And listen, nobody wants to see a legend, a player of that ilk, go out in that type of fashion. Listen, whether it was 2-1 or 5-1, you certainly don't want to see that country's hero knowing that that's the last time you're going to see him on a soccer field, especially in that type of competition. But the only thing you can say to that is you tip your cap to Norway. They've had a tremendous run here. Obviously, they have a top player. Norway's going to play moving forward because with their fans and the Viking rows, I'm sure you've seen a million times. You may be sick of it by now, but that's part of the beauty of what we see here with soccer. It's the fans, it's the camaraderie, it's the chants, it's the row, and who knows? Will they row themselves to a semifinal and even a World Cup final? Listen, we still have plenty of time to chew on that. But how I look at this game yesterday, and even though, one more time, you got to give it up for Norway. They've been tremendous. And even with the late flurry there by Brazil and a lot of the momentum and hoping to try to get that equalizer in the stoppage time, and it didn't happen. And certainly was a relief for Norway to get out of that game alive because who knows what would have happened if it had come down to penalty kicks. But as it was, Norway survives, and now they advance where Brazil, I know that's a long flight home if they already haven't flown home. Maybe they're en route right now, getting back there to their country. And obviously, this is the first time that Norway has gotten to this point in the World Cup, so tip your cap to them. But I have to say, this past weekend, really the past week, when you think about it on the whole, I mean, the games have been fascinating. You'd be silly to kind of poo-poo it or to overlook it, to think like, all right, yeah, so-and-so won. Oh, wow, all right, that was competitive. And listen, am I watching every second of every game? No, I am not. Have I been on top of it? More so than I thought I'd ever be. And I get it. If I go back to the podcast, even 2018, which was the first year of the podcast, even 2022, which I talked about the World Cup final, but I was not as wrapped up in those two World Cups combined, anything close to what we've seen here. Partly because a lot of the games have been played here in this country, which helps, because if these games were elsewhere, just like in 2022 in Qatar with the time difference, you think I'm getting up at the crack of dawn to watch any of these games? I am not. And I understand that the game that's at whatever time locally, let's say in Qatar, it's 2 o'clock here, so 6 or 7 hour difference, whatever it may be. All right, it's a lot different because you're going to watch, and I did watch that game, and as thrilling as it was, and not to go over that, that's old news, but because the games are being played here, I mean, how can I not be more invested and want to be on top of this, especially because this is what I do? Could you imagine me coming on here today knowing that the U.S. is playing Belgium tonight, and obviously one of their top strikers is coming back? You heard the comments there by the Belgium head coach. And then I'm just going to say, all right, well, the game is tonight. Let's see what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. All right. And then now let's go on to the Jaylen Brown trade for the 19th time. And yeah, I'll talk about Jaylen Brown a little bit. But no, I had to open up with this. I had to start with this. And then tomorrow, I know no podcast, no live stream until Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern time for those who are watching live. And for those who are in the room right now, are following, please leave a comment. I'll follow up a little bit later on, I promise. But it would be irresponsible for me to not start this podcast after what has transpired over the weekend, and obviously what's going to lead into this afternoon and this evening, to where I shouldn't even do this then. Just like I'll start off on Monday talking about Rory McIlroy winning his second Masters, no matter what happened in baseball, no matter what happened in any of the other sports. Come on, that's a no-brainer. Got to start off with that. Or let's say it was the tennis from last year. The Yannick Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz in Paris. Or even the U.S. Open for that matter. Where, although he beat Djokovic in that match, if I'm not mistaken, going back to last year. But anyway, to me, all about it. And obviously with this Spain-Portugal game, listen, it's easy for me to say I'm going to pick Spain. You would think that they're going to And obviously everybody knew that they had that team that could be there at the end as one of the last teams standing. Portugal, obviously we know what they're capable of and what they've done to this point. But, and listen, not that I have a horse in the race, kind of hate to use that term, but you know what I mean. So I'd have to go chalk. Now, would I be surprised if Portugal won? No, I would not. I think in order for Portugal to win, they'd have to get it into stoppage time and maybe even into penalty kicks. Cheers. Watermelon juice. That's for those that are listening on Apple or Spotify. Sometimes I like to cheers to my fellow sports kooks in the room with whatever beverage that I'm drinking throughout the course of my podcast, live stream, etc. So I digress. But Spain, listen, am I going on a limb? No. Portugal, would I be shocked if they win, even if they win in regulation? I can't say I would, because with the way that this World Cup has gone, I don't want to just be cliche and could say, oh, anything could happen. Of course anything could happen. That's why they play these games. But listen, Ronaldo at 41 years of age, we know what he's been able to do throughout the course of his career and at moments here in this tournament. But listen, he could have one of those hot games, and next thing you know, they're up 2-0, 25 minutes into the match, and then you think to yourself, now Spain feeling the pressure, now taking extra chances, pressing a little bit. I mean, you never know. But I think Spain will prevail and move on from there. And when I take a look at the bracket here, this is what we're looking at moving forward. Now, you have these last two games or two matches today, and you have two matches tomorrow that would advance to the quarterfinals. So you know about today's games. Tomorrow, Switzerland and Colombia. I know the Colombian people, they are just over the moon right now, considering how they played, and they're going to go up against Switzerland, who I'll be honest, I don't know a lot of. And then you have Argentina, who obviously everybody knows Argentina, and Egypt, which I find that to be the more fascinating game. Although I know the Swiss, they play well. But, you know, Argentina is going to be an immense favorite in that game, as it is. I don't even know what they're they're minus 270. I mean, that is a significant. And then Colombia, looking at it, they're plus 130, which, you know, Switzerland, they're a solid favorite. But, and let me say, for U.S., they're plus 145. All right, that's solid. And Spain, minus 110, which that's also solid too. I mean, by far, Argentina, that would be the most colossal upset if Egypt were able to pull that off. But here's what we have for the remainder of this week at least. Now, we got to see what's going to happen today, which we can't really touch on. But in that side of the bracket, where U.S., Belgium, Portugal, Spain, you have France is going to play Morocco. That is going to be on Thursday, 4 o'clock, where the winner of today's games or today's matches will play on Friday, 3 o'clock. And then in the other bracket, Norway and England, what's that is going to be, I can't even imagine what that matchup is going to look like between the England fan and the Norwegian fan. I mean, please, that could be old school. Maybe not to the point where throwing stuff at one another and fights and things of that nature, but you know the Brits are going to come out full force in Norway. They're going to have the Viking road times a zillion. That is going to be Saturday at 5. And then at 9 o'clock will be the winners of Argentina, Egypt, and Switzerland, Colombia. And if you have Argentina, Colombia, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are hoping for that. So we'll see. And we'll talk more about that. Keep yourself locked in here on the channel where you'll get a recap tonight. Will I do a live afterwards? I guess it depends on how the outcome of the game is. I don't know if I do a live, but maybe I'll do one tomorrow in the morning to kind of recap the events of tonight's games and even the first game too, because obviously Spain, Portugal, that's an enormous game. So that's what we have there. Let me see. Did my audio cut out? All right. Just want to make sure that my audio's good to go. And I see the comments there. I promise I will get to them momentarily. But yeah, this is what you have. The excitement of the World Cup, as good as it gets. And we're all here to witness it and obviously have it all broken down for you, especially come tomorrow after tonight's and this afternoon's matches. As a matter of fact, let's see who we got. Waffle Line, I would have started with the Met funeral. Wasted year. We could get into that. Guy Leaf. Chief Pedro File America. I'm trying to put that together. Cole Trickle, what's going on? I haven't seen that name in a while. The Novice, just giving some shout out to the people in the room. Fishing Angel. Val. Cole Trickle, I wonder why he went back. Victor E, my man, what's happening? Last time I leader got involved in a sporting event? Yeah. That is true. Love you too, Vic. I appreciate that, man. I really do. You already know. All right, I got to go back to some of those other comments there I see. Oragoat, what is happening? Don't know if you guys are still on board. That was in about 25 minutes ago. But yes, I just want to acknowledge everybody here. And I'll make sure to get back to all those comments later on. Juan Soto surrounded with average players. Average means replaceable. Yeah. Hi, I'm new. Hula Rizwan. Cheers. Welcome. I appreciate you stopping by. All right, Hura, or Huri, I guess you pronounce that, right? All right, I'm going to move on to other things. Hold on to your comments, or please keep posting them. I'll get back to them momentarily. I want to pivot and talk a little baseball as I get in the batter's box, taking off the soccer cleats and putting on these spikes. And what we have here, and you know me, people, there's only one time a year that if I'm ever fortunate and blessed, that if in the top of or the bottom of the ninth, the Yankees in some way, shape, or form make the last out where the other team is victorious in a wild card series, division series, league championship series, or obviously the World Series. When they make that last out, not record it, when they make that last out, that is my time to puff out my chest and to chide and even, to a certain extent, troll the Yankee fan. And as I sit here today on January 6th, watching them spiral out of control and the June swoon now into July, it seems to be an annual rite of passage for the Bronx Bombers. After a weekend that started out pretty good, beating the Twins after a day off on the heels of losing 7 straight to the Red Sox and Tigers. And now the Twins, who had not won a series in Yankee Stadium since Barack Obama was in office. 2014. And they go in there and win the back two of the series to where, let's face it, they embarrassed the Yanks. 11-4 and 6-1 yesterday to where they still can't hit. I understand they have injuries. Jazz Chisholm now with a toe, which could be day-to-day. But with Carlos Rodon now on the IL because of left elbow inflammation, and remember, he had to start off the season on the IL because he had to get those loose bodies out of that left elbow. And we know about Garrett Cole on the return, and not necessarily on the mend because he has had a handful of starts or more than a handful of starts under his belt. But still, coming back from Tommy John not being anything close to what he was prior to the injury. Remember, he's 35, 36 years of age, so it's not as if he's 28, 29 coming back and he's trying to throw it through a brick wall. But this Yankee team here, do the concerns begin? Now, your rotation is starting to get nicked up here. We know about the lineup. We know about Cody Bellinger and Ben Rice coming back to earth. Same for Paul Goldschmidt, for that matter. And that's the thing. When you're going to have those guys try to carry your offense, although they're all good offensive players, and I understand Goldschmidt long in the tooth, when you're not getting contributions from anywhere else, whether it's the catcher position, Austin Wells, or even, and Ahmed Rosario has chipped in admirably here, and the Jose Caballeros, I get it, but it's almost like having that backup quarterback that's going to come in, and let's just say, for instance, where your starter goes out, the backup comes in, it's like, wow, all right, got a good rest of the game. Oh, his next start, wow, he led us to victory. And the game after that, all right, he wasn't great, but, we hung in there. That's when the warts come out. So it's almost as if the aforementioned, and we know Bellinger's a starter and Ben Rice, but when you're not going to have that protection in the lineup, a la Aaron Judge, and you're going to be pressed to do even more, considering that those guys are out, and that's not even including Giancarlo Stanton. Obviously, this is what you have here offensively, where the Yankees have been anemic. Reading all these stats going back to last week, as you know, they batted 105 during the first 5 games of that losing streak last week from Fenway back home in that first game against Detroit. And some of the other numbers are just stark. not being able to score more than 5 runs in a game since June 17th. And listen, I get it. That's not a full month, but this is the Yankees. Bronx Bombers for a reason. I mean, you could put myself, you could put a lot of the guys in the chat room in the lineup, and I'm sure we'd be able to produce a little something. For that team to not be able to score at least 5 runs in a game in, do the math, just about 3 weeks, that's alarming. And now with their pitching in tatters, and I'm not in love with their bullpen. Their bullpen, listen, they sprung a couple of leaks over the weekend. All right, fine, it's expected. But, yeah, this Yankee team, right now, it's deplorable. And think about this. They were 48-31. My math serves me correct. 17 over, and now they're 9 over 500. This tailspin has put them in a position where they are now, 5 in the loss and 3.5 back? Which, oh, by the way, who do the Yankees now play in their next series after now losing 9-10, losing to the, let's face it, I know the Twins are a few games under 500, but they're the dregs of the AL Central. And then the Red Sox are well beneath them in the division. Now they're going to end up playing the team that's above them in the AL East, that being the Tampa Bay Rays, who have beaten them 4 out of 5, including a sweep down in Tampa back in April. So now you'd have to really think long and hard. This 4-game series in Tampa, followed up by 3 in Washington, who obviously they've been an upstart this year. Not going to be a pushover. You'd have to think that this Yankee team could be in for a season-defining 4 games there in Tampa St. Pete. And before you say, oh, Jay Rios, what are you, crazy? They're only 3.5 back, 5 in a loss. If they win 3 out of 4, they barely been able to survive here over the last 10 days. Now, all of a sudden, they're going to turn around and win 3 out of 4? That's not to say they can't, but Tampa, and they're not afraid of the Yanks. Just because Tampa's ahead of them and they don't have the big stars, I know Junior Caminero maybe notwithstanding, but they don't have a loaded lineup and they don't have a starting rotation. Although they have good pieces in that starting rotation. It's more about their bullpen. And they have a very resourceful manager, but they're not afraid of the pinstripes. They're not afraid of the interlocking NY in the least. So, listen, the Yankees, I think you have to ask them. Of course, they want 3 out of 4. But if somebody were to tell you, hey, you're only going to get a split here, you'd take that and run, considering the way you've been playing recently. And the reason why I say season defining, because this almost parallels to what happened last year with this Yankee team, because as I mentioned last week and probably the week before, when the Yankees went up to Toronto and they had a 3.5-game lead there in late June into July, and they got swept by the Blue Jays to the point where they went from 3.5 up to a half game back, and were nowhere to be found until late in the year, where they got their momentum and they tried to chase the Blue Jays before they tied in the win-loss column. But because of the season series advantage going to Toronto, who got the division crown and therefore were able to sit out until the divisional series? The Blue Jays. And if somehow, some way, the Rays win 3 of the next 4, they will have already clinched the season series because they're already up 4-1. They played 13 games. So if they win 3, that's it. It's over. And even though they have to make up the 1 game from what happened in the Bronx, what was that, in May, there in late September, I believe the next to last series of the year, the Rays come to Yankee Stadium. So even if the Tampa wins 3 out of 4, and they stay ahead of the pack here in the AL East to the point where, let's say they go into that series and obviously the Yankees may need it or whatever, but if they fall in a flat-footed tie similar to last year, that's it. They're going to be on the road. And we saw what happened with them last year. Now, how I look at this series, I know the pitching matchups. I haven't looked at the Rays. I know the last 2 games with the Yankees, they had a rookie pitcher pitch on Saturday. And then yesterday, Ryan Weathers, I know his record isn't great, and his ERA is okay. But to me, I'm not looking at him as a guy like, oh, because a lot of Yankee fans say, oh, Ryan Weathers is a good fit starter. Is he? No shade on Weathers. Oh, excuse me. That's the watermelon juice. No shade on Weathers, but at the same time, come on. I mean, that's not a big-time threat there in your rotation. But tonight, Now, Cam Schlitlow had a poor performance last time. He's going to go up against Griffin Jax. Tomorrow night, Will Warren, who I'm not a fan of, undecided, so that sounds like an opener there for Tampa. And then you have Garrett Cole, Shane McClanahan, who's also very good. And Cole, we talked about what's going on with him, especially since he's come back from Tommy John. And then on Thursday, which I believe is an afternoon game, Drew Rasmussen, who's had a very good year, going up against, right now, undecided, which the Saturday starter, let me pull him up real quick, because I had never seen him before. And I know when I saw his name, I said, wait a minute, who in the hell is this pitcher for the Yankees who I've never laid my eyes on? There on the 4th, as I pull it up here. Oh, Brendan Beck. Oh, listen. So I guess right now, knowing that Beck and his start there on Saturday, 3 2/3, 5 runs, all earned, 2 walks, obviously not great. So I'm sure they're holding out to see who's going to start for them come Thursday afternoon. So decent pitching matchups. Looks like a couple of openers, one for the Rays tomorrow, maybe one for the Yankees there on Thursday. And then you have Garrett Cole, McClanahan, Griffin Jax, and Cam Schlitlow tonight. Let me see what Jax is doing. And I remember watching his numbers. Oh, Jax is an opener. That's right. So, and the Rays, they're the masters of the opener. To me, they're the ones that really have come to the forefront as the team here in the last 6-7 years, maybe even more than that, to open up these games 1 or 2 innings tops and then hand it over to a long reliever to get them to the back end of the bullpen. So for the Yanks, listen, I think that it's got to turn around at some point. They know what they're up against. And I understand big picture. They're going to be okay, especially in this American League, as I've said a million times over. But to me, I really think that this is a season-defining series. They lose 3 out of 4. They'll lose 2 games in the standings, and they'll end up being 7 back in the loss. Is it insurmountable? No. It's the middle of July. Or it's not even. We're still in the early parts of July. And with the Rays, they've had their peaks and valleys to the point where after that tremendous start, they really hit an abutment. But now they're trending upward and certainly playing as good as any team in baseball by evidence of their flip-flop of the Yankees 1-9 in the last 10 games. Well, the Rays are 9-1, and that's why they lead the AL East at 3.5 games. So we'll see what happens, especially when we get to Thursday's podcast, as to where the Yankees stack up here over these next 3 games. And away we go. Now, how about the Marlins? Sweeping Sacramento, the A's. But the weird thing about the game, especially yesterday, is Eury Perez, who is a very good starter, tall, slender right-hander. He went 7 innings yesterday and was perfect through 7, got pulled. And how disastrous that would have been if the Marlins lost that game, because I believe it was 8-0 Marlins at the time. And they ended up hanging on to win 9-8. They gave up 5 in the 8th, so they pull Perez. They give up 5 runs in the bottom of the 8th, so it was 8-5. They tack on a run in the 9th to make it 9-5, and then the A's scored 3 in the bottom of the 9th in order for the Marlins to hang on by the edge of their fingernails to secure the sweep there out in Sacramento. But now they're 7 over 500, having just a tremendous first half. And now they come home. I don't know who they play. I'll look at the schedule in a moment. But what a road trip for them. And I believe on their road trip, they lost 2 out of 3 in Colorado. And I follow the Marlins closely because of the over-unders. And right now, their over-under win total, I know we talked about this the other day, 72.5. And right now, they're at 49. So all they got to do is win 24 games between now and the end of September, and I'm good. And Lord knows I'm going to need it because, as we talked about the other day, my over-unders are terrible, especially the overs. I picked Boston and Detroit as overs, and they're going to be far from those numbers. So, and then hopefully I got a miracle with Colorado, but I think they're going to surpass that. I got them as an under. Houston, I don't want to say a lock just yet, but I think it could be based on where they were at the halfway point, unless they got a run in them. And then San Francisco, that's a lock. No offense to Val out there in the Pacific Grove Pacific Northwest. Oh, not Pacific Northwest, in Northern California. But that's what you have with Perez and what the Marlins have done here. Just tremendous. And even last year they were very feisty. If you remember that series in late July into August where the Yankees came to town and they won 3 straight there and actually got to 500 before they faltered. But listen, you saw what they did against the Mets in that final series on the weekend where they knocked them out of the postseason. And they ended up, I believe, 79-83, which, listen, that's still below 500. It's below average, etc. But Marlins are usually gone from any pennant race once you get to the trade deadline. So give it up as I am bestowing their just merits and extolling the praises of this, I was going to say Florida Marlins, this Miami Marlins team. So you have that, and then the suspensions were handed out. I know it was days ago, but Cade Cavalli and Wilson Contreras. Contreras, I know, is a hothead. Anytime a ball gets pitched anywhere near him, he's going to start staring down pitchers, etc. 7-game suspensions. Obviously, the big fight. He throws his helmet. Obviously uncalled for. Cavalli, the pitcher there, the Nationals. So that's what you have with baseball, because other than that, as I take a quick look here, you don't really have anything else. Now, I know Munetaka Murakami is on the mend. He'll have a rehab stint, so that's going to be imperative for the White Sox to get their slugger back. But, just taking a look at the standings. Now, I understand that the Padres save face, almost getting swept by the Dodgers as they were able to win at Chavez-Ravine yesterday after losing the first 3 games. Now, the NL West, forget about it. That is not even wrapped up. Put a bow, a ribbon, etc., as they have a 14-game lead over both Arizona and San Diego in the division. So that is the biggest margin of difference, especially in any of the divisions throughout baseball. Atlanta, who beat up on the Mets over the weekend, although talking about a comeback, Mets had a big lead there yesterday where they scored 5 in the top of the 9th because, what was it? It was 5-3. They scored 5 in the top of the 9th. And then what did the Braves do? They scored 6 in the bottom of the 9th. And talk about surviving and hanging on. The Mets certainly had to do that and then some. And they'll conclude their series tonight. So for the Mets to see if they could try to split a series, which for them, what does that mean? Not much, because they're going nowhere fast, as we know. And let's see, now that we're into July, if they're going to start being sellers. I don't care what they are. We're 9 back. No. As I've said before, and I'll say it again. But the Braves still have that 3-game lead, 4 in the loss on the Phillies. And the Marlins are now just 2 in the loss, but a game and a half behind the Phillies there in the National League East. 6 behind Atlanta overall. Now, who has the game advantage? Let me see. Now, the Braves have the games at hand against 2 in hand against Philly, 3 in hand against Miami. Something to keep in mind as we move it along. Brewers with a 6-game lead over the Cubs. No sweat there. Obviously, we have the races in the American League. Talked about Rays, Yankees, as you know, huge series there this forthcoming week. White Sox, 1-game lead over the Guardians, but 2 in the loss. And in Seattle, right now, a game over Texas, 2.5 over Houston, and then 5.5 over the Athletics. As that is your baseball. Now, as far as the schedule goes, early part of the week, you know about Yanks and Rays. Hold on. Yeah, it had to be a makeup game, right? That Philly, Kansas City, 2:00 today. Christopher Sanchez pitching. Yeah, New York, Tampa, Houston, Washington, Milwaukee, St. Louis, Arizona, San Diego, Toronto, San Francisco, Colorado, LA. So let me just add these pieces together. Cubs in Baltimore tomorrow, Athletics at Detroit, Atlanta at Pittsburgh, Seattle at Miami, Kansas City at the Mets, Philly at Cincinnati, Boston at the White Sox, Cleveland, Minnesota, and Chicago, Cleveland, I'm going to get to in a minute. Texas hosting the Angels, Arizona, San Diego. Yeah, I didn't really ballyhoo the White Sox Guardians weekend series, considering that they're battling it out for first place. And that was a bad job by me because, again, I'm not showing any love to the AL Central. But I went a little far back there on the schedule there, J Reels. Hold on. I know that the Guardians were able to – wait, how come this isn't coming up here? Yeah, the Guardians were not able to get the back two games because with the start of the series – where the Guardians were hosting, they had one Thursday and then also won in extras on Friday. So they really could have put themselves in a very good position to take at least 3 out of 4 after winning the first 2 games, and they did not. Where the White Sox, and give them some credit, on the road showing some mettle, winning there on Saturday and then topping it off there yesterday, splitting that series. So no harm, no foul as far as any games lost in the division, as they won close games in the back end, 3-1 and 7-6. And now the White Sox, as mentioned just momentarily, they will host the Red Sox while the Guardians will be in Minnesota. And that is your baseball. Anything else to talk about? No, that's it. All right, now let me break out the tennis racket for those who are in the chat room. Glenn, what is happening? And Huria, thanks for sticking around. I appreciate that. Yeah, I know. 92 pitches took him out. Oh, yeah, I know. Tampa, that stadium is an eyesore. Huria, thanks for the sub. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for not only stopping by, but sticking around. Continue to stick around. I'll get back to all the comments momentarily. So hang tight with that. But as far as the tennis goes, Wimbledon, breaking out the rackets, as I mentioned. Now you're going to have some very interesting matchups, unlike what we saw at the French, where you had a lot of the big-time performers knocked out there in the opening week. Well, you're not going to have to worry about that this time around, as you're going to have some riveting tennis, both on the men's and women's side. And I'm going to start off on the women's side with Naomi Osaka. Now, we know Osaka's been a big-time player in the past. She has 4 Grand Slams to her belt. I believe she has, 2 U.S. Opens? I don't think, and maybe 2 Australians. I don't know if she's won a French. She hasn't won Wimbledon. You know what? Should have looked that up prior to, but that's the good thing about doing a live show. We share it together. But Osaka, as we know, she's slowly but surely come back into the fold as far as building up the confidence and the reps to get to a point where she could be recognized as one of the top players in the world. And we know she's a former number 1. But for her to have that win there against Aryna Sabalenka, who Sabalenka last month at the French was able to take care of her rather decisively. No, I think that was in 3 sets. But, yeah, she's won 2 Australians and 2 U.S. Opens, just like I thought. For Osaka, and knowing that she was overpowering, and we get it that Sabalenka between the ears is a little soft, but Osaka, I mean, what could you say? 6-2, 7-6, straight sets. And I'd have to think, with Iga Świątek out, as she lost in the tournament there on Friday, as well as Elena Rybakina, those are their top 3 seeds there. Sabalenka, Świątek, and Rybakina all out. I get it. You still have Madison Keys. You still have Coco Gauff. You still have Jessica Pegula, who I believe Gauff and Pegula are going to match up against one another, and I'll bring up the bracket in a moment. But to me right now, I think this tournament could certainly use a huge boost by Osaka's performance here. And we know what had transpired dating back to right around COVID, I would say right around that time where she had to step down due to mental health issues. She even had to withdraw from matches because of her mental health. A lot of online stuff, and I get it. People can say, you got to be tougher than that, whatever. Hey, listen, we're all not built like Tiger Woods or Michael Jones. Tiger Woods on the course. Or Michael Jordan or Derek Jeter, or name whatever top player, Kobe Bryant, Mamba mentality. Not everybody's built like that. And for Osaka to then get pregnant, had a child, trying to make her way back as far as being part of the tour, And now to a point where she's had to go in as wild cards in some of these tournaments and just get herself acclimated back to the flow of the tennis circuit and of these major tournaments. And now that it seems like she's getting her sea legs to the point where even after the loss to Sabalenka last month, and to fight back and dominate there in the fourth round against Sabalenka, I'd have to think. Now, I get it. There's still some stiff competition out there, but I have to think that she could be the odds-on favorite to win this thing. Now, it's interesting because she'll play tomorrow against Karolina Muchova, and then in the bracket below her is that Coco Gauff, Jessica Pegula match. So we'll see how that shakes down. And then on the other side, you have Jasmine Paolini, who's played very well here over the last 2 years, the Italian, and Marta Kostyuk. Now, you also have the other bracket. Let me see. That woman's name. I don't have her first name. But in the other bracket there, you have Elise Martens, who beat Rybakina. She's going up against, as a matter of fact, she had won, so she's advanced. Now we're waiting to see who's going to advance in the current match between Madison Keys and I believe that's from the Czech Republic, Noskova. So we'll have to wait and see if Madison Keys could advance. And listen, we know Keys is a very good and did win a tournament. What did she win last year? Didn't she win the Australian to win her first? And I don't believe she may have gone to a semifinal at Wimbledon. But I would have to think, going back to Osaka, I won't go as far as saying this is a tournament to lose because, again, now I would think she would probably be better off going up against Pegula than Gauff, because Gauff, as we've seen, she knows how to win these tournaments. Now, mind you, she's only won two, the French and the U.S. Open a few years back. So she'll be gunning for her first Wimbledon. And listen, Osaka right now has probably been playing with the most confidence and the best confidence she's had dating back to those days where she won Grand Slams in the late 20-teens. So I think for one more time, for tennis to really get that boost, to really get that jolt, and it certainly helps to have Osaka back in the fold. I really hope she goes far. I hope she gets to the end and wins Wimbledon. Obviously, then if she does that, she'll be one win away, the French, of getting a career Grand Slam. How could you not root for her considering everything that has transpired with her over these last X amount of years, everything I just chronicled? So we'll see how that unfolds in her next match. And again, that's Karolina Muchova. Now, as far as the men's draw is concerned, everybody is still fair game. I mean, I understand you still have a couple of guys that have been out that had lost early on, with Ben Shelton, as we talked about, Francis Tiafoe. The only American that's standing right now is Taylor Fritz. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen with Fritz here and who his next matchup will be. But here's what you got. Now, I thought Novak Djokovic was going to be in the other side of the draw with Jannik Sinner. And Sinner, he's going to play a guy who I've never heard of before and never seen play. This, I believe you're going to pronounce it Struff. So let me just make sure I get this correct. So Jan-Lennard Struff, who, listen, I never heard of. He's 36 years of age, so obviously he's been on the circuit for a while, and now he's going to go up against, of all people, Briella Joe. What's happening? What's up? Hopefully you're still around. Checking out the comments here in the room for those who are listening again on Apple, Spotify, which is fine. No problems. As long as you get to throw me a few stars, write a review, I'll talk about that in the back end. But anyway, as far as the scenario regarding the men's, so Struff, again, 36 years of age. Does he have an upset in him? I don't think so. Sinner has played well here. I understand he had the opening round 5-setter, but since then he's been lights out. But now the next match in that bracket is Felix Auger-Aliassime going up against Djokovic. Now, Aliassime is very good. He could certainly give Sinner and anybody else a run for the money. Now, Aliassime is the third-ranked player in the world, but I would think sentimental-wise, you want to see Djokovic get to the next round. And don't forget, remember when Sinner faced off against Djokovic in the Australian Open semifinals to the point where Djokovic beat Sinner, and then, of course, Djokovic lost to Alcaraz at that point. So that is going to be an excellent match. That's tomorrow at 10 a.m., where the first match will be Sinner and Struff. And then on the other side of the draw, Taylor Fritz, he's going to go, in fact, at 12:30, so it's not too far from now. Let me just see where that – yeah, that's at 12:30. He's going to go up against Alexander Bublik. So, as I mentioned, Fritz, the last American standing. Let's see what he'll do here in his matchup. And then Alexander Zverev coming off of the French Open win, as we know. He's going to go up against somebody who I've never seen. He's ranked 13 in the world. So, you know what? That's a bad job on my part. Let's just get a better look. Czech player, and goes by the name of Jiří Lehecka. Guess how you pronounce that? So, you figure Zverev will be fine there, and he'll go up against the Bublik-Fritz winner, where Grigor Dimitrov will, right now in the first set, is 5-5. Chances are, whomever wins that, they're going to go up against Kobali, who actually beat Alex de Minaur, and de Minaur actually had a very good tournament to date. But for Kobali to, listen, he's a guy that has gone deep in some of these tournaments, but certainly has not been able to get to a semifinal, even a final for that matter. I believe he got to a semifinal. I'll look that up. Flavio Kobali. Maybe he got to, I don't think it was the French. Yeah, the deepest that he got to, no, actually was the French final. Because think about it. He lost to the aforementioned Alexander Zverev. That's why I thought his name was familiar. I know he got deep, and that's the deepest he's ever been. Other than that, quarterfinals here at Wimbledon, which he's done now back-to-back years. So Kobali, excellent job by him. And one more time, he's going to be able to go up against either Grigor Dimitrov, who is ranked 11th in the world, and Arthur Ferry, who is a Brit. So I'm sure the hometown favorite, well, not favorite, but the hometown, do I say hero? I won't go as far as saying hero either. But I'm sure they're going to be rooting for him hard to go up against Dimitrov here in order for them to at least have something to cheer for past this match and again against Flavio Kobali. But that's what you have. So to me, that top part of the draw, and I understand you got to give Zverev some props, but whomever's going to come out of that center, forget about Struff, Aliassime and Djokovic, that group is going to, I think, going to end up being your winner. And listen, Zverev, I understand now that he got the piano off his back, he could go ahead and exhale knowing that he has a Grand Slam title under his belt, but can he win back-to-back? Listen, that side of the draw, not too shabby. And Dimitrov's not ranked 11th. I overlooked that. My apologies there. But should have a very fascinating week there. By the time we get to Thursday's podcast, it'll be a lot more clearer as far as the picture goes. So hang your hats there, people, as we continue to talk about that. Val, who's worse, Mets or Giants? Ugh. I'm going to say the Mets. I won't even say the Giants. I mean, that's how bad the Mets have been. All right, so one last thing before I turn it to you guys and gals in the chat. So thanks for being patient, bearing with me here. But NBA real quick, there have been a couple of things that have popped up here. And listen, the only reason why I'm going to bring up Jaylen Brown one last time, because there could be some, I don't want to say there's a lot of fallout from the Celtic fans and maybe some fans around. And listen, you've heard me dissect this trade last week a couple of times. And now the dust is settled. Listen, am I still upset? Disgusted? Of course I am. And listen, I understand the economics of this as well, because a lot of it, and I'm sure you've already read, heard, listened, where the new ownership, Bill Chisholm, obviously doesn't want to pay a guy 140 some odd million extension on top of what he's already getting. And with the way the NBA and the CBA is constructed, there's no, that second apron, you pass that, that's a borderline death knell. And I'm not a capologist in the least, but just put it this way. When you have more than two players or two players that are going to pretty much hog your cap, and therefore, once you get to that second apron, meaning that when you get to past that threshold, yeah, you're going to be over a barrel at that point. And listen, one more time, just like I said then, where ownership, they're going to do what they want. They're in the business to make money. And even though Bill Chisholm, the owner, is a Boston guy, but just because you're a Boston guy doesn't automatically mean that, I'm going to do all the things that the previous ownership did in order to keep this franchise alive to be championship worthy inside, in 1 year and out another. Excuse me. Year in and year out. That's what I meant to say. But with that being said, and we don't know what had transpired, whether or not, we got to trade this guy yesterday. We got to trade him in the next 5 minutes. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's against our biggest rival, this, that, whatever. And that's the problem with these new owners. The Matt Ishbias of the world, who came in there with the shiny new Maserati. Hey, look at me. And traded for Kevin Durant and did that. And what did that get him? Sweeps in the postseason. And embarrassed in this postseason by Oklahoma City. Or what about Patrick Dumont, the Maverick owner, where Nico Harrison, the former GM at the time, hey, I have a proposal trade where Luka Doncic could get traded for Anthony Davis and future number 1 pick. And why did Patrick Dumont sign off on that? I get it. You didn't want to pay that extension. But what did you get in return to even justify that trade? And Chisholm falls prey to that too. So we're, all right, we got 2 number 1 picks in 2028 and 2031, but those picks are going to be useless. Does he not know that? Probably not. And I get it. These private equity funds or these private equity groups, in the long run, could hurt a lot of these franchises. Because, with them, it's about having their hands in all these pots to where they're not focused on the team itself. This isn't the Rooneys in the NFL where it's family business, or the Steinbrenners. A lot of these guys, they're hotshots in other ventures out there, whether it be hedge funds, whether it be real estate, you name it. But when it comes to the pros, when it comes to business of a major league team, they couldn't tell you one thing from the next. You mean to tell me Matt Ishbia, if Kevin Durant walked in the room, you could spot out Kevin Durant? It's disgraceful. It just is. And listen, not to belabor that or to really go in, but bottom line is this. These franchises that have these owners and they want to say, we have the best interest to win, so on and so forth, to me, not so fast. They're in the business to make money and to have this team to show off to their friends. Like, hey, I'm only one of 30 owners in the sport that have an NBA team. That's the ultimate flex. NFL, baseball, doesn't matter. But trying to run that organization or try to be the person that, all right, sign the checks, but also have input. But meanwhile, they have no clue. Let's face it, it's shameful. It just is. But then that leads to another thing with Jaylen Brown going to Philly. Now, where does the LeBron James circus end up? And I mean that with the utmost flattery. Now, the suitors out there, based on some of the reports, have it to where LeBron is looking at Philadelphia, Miami, Cleveland. Is that a surprise? Not really. Cleveland, we've heard, obviously, with him going back, quote-unquote, home, whatever it is, 30 minutes, 40 minutes from Akron. Miami, been there, done that. to go along with Giannis and the guys that they procured there in the trade to bring Giannis to South Beach. Philly, because Jaylen Brown, Tyrese Maxey could be that influence to get to the Sixers back to a final for the first time in a quarter century and haven't won a title in 40 plus years. So you would think in the days to come that LeBron will make an announcement as to where he's going to go or which teams have been courting him to see whether or not that they could have him on board to be a part of an organization that's this close to winning a championship. We'll have to wait and see. Now, listen, I couldn't tell you. I don't think Cleveland is a good fit, as I mentioned there on Thursday. Miami, I don't know. Do you want to go back to South Beach again? I know he and Riley didn't end off well, and maybe that's water under the bridge at this point. Who knows? You look at Philly, obviously they haven't won in a long time. Maybe that's his final destination. So we'll see. But until then, I don't want to hear about these rumors. I don't want to hear about anything else. Once LeBron signs on the dotted line, then we could say, all right, we could talk about it. Yeah, so that's pretty much what's happening in the NBA. I mean, can I get into these minor signings? The Knicks picked up Andre Drummond to replace Mitchell Robinson. All right, fine. Tari Eason re-ups there in Houston, 5 for 81. Neemias Queta, the Celtic center, 4 for 56. Anthony Simons, the former Celtic in Philly as well. But a lot of these moves aren't going to move the needle. DeAndre Ayton gets shipped to Washington. So with him, AD, Trae Young, AJ DeBonsa, putting together a decent team. Let's see if Ayton could wake up a little bit and play this potential. So that's pretty much it with the NBA. And Patrick Ewing to join the Wizards as an assistant. Kudos to him. He was on the Knick payroll. As you know, I'm sure you've seen him courtside and at the finals and the parade and all that. So Patrick now gets back into coaching. Good for him. And in the NHL, listen, both NBA, NHL, the free agency period is going to quiet down a bit. You may hear some rumblings. You may have something percolating. But, yeah, all the big-time free agents, and there were more in the NHL than there were in the NBA, it's certainly going to be silenced for the most part. But as far as the NHL goes, Jason Robertson, the Dallas Stars winger, filed for arbitration. Now, there was a deal in place between the Stars and the Kraken to where he was going to get shipped to Seattle and then would have signed I believe, a 7-year deal, almost 80-some-odd million, and he passed on that. And I'm sure he probably didn't want to go to Seattle, but because that trade was nixed, and with him now going to an arbitrator or filing for arbitration to see where he stacks there, he's taking the approach of pushing those chips in the middle of the table and betting on himself, which, listen, I can't knock that. But obviously he's risked a big payday there in Seattle, which, for better or for worse, is a scenario where Robinson probably feels it's best for him to just kind of stay put and see where these Stars go and have a better chance to win than to go to Seattle. Yeah, I got paid. I got the bag, but we're now 8 points out of the last wild card spot. And does he really want that over the remainder of his career? I don't think so. So that's number one. And then the Predators signed Maverick Bourque. Speaking of Dallas, they acquired him from the Stars and then gave him an extension 5 years for $33.5 million. So congratulations for Bourque on that. But otherwise, nothing else to really report when it comes to the NHL and even the NFL for that matter. Now they're in the month of July, the end of the month of training camp. Oh, man. So you have that going. But that is it, people. That is pretty much everything I have to say in a big, giant nutshell. And I appreciate you sticking with me throughout. Let me get to the comments. Hey, Kevin, what's going on? Bio, I'll get to that. Hey, what's up, Dan? Quick hi. I appreciate you stopping by as always. I appreciate that. All right, so we go to the top. Good old Cole. What is happening? Val, what is happening? Yeah, let's see. Let's see what happens tonight. That's going to be a fascinating game, I think. Yes, they did. Mets barely won, but hey, you take it. All right, let's see. Fishing Angel. What? I changed my name. It won't let me change it back for 14 days. Really? Why'd you have to change your current handle now? I thought you were good. Or a goat. Cheers. Hopefully you're still here. I know that was over an hour ago. It was just a correction of ref bias on that call. Oh, yes. No, agreed. Christina. Trying to look at your avatar there. Welcome. Listen, I did say your name there, Aura, but I don't know if you're still with us. But Aura Goat. One more time. Aura Goat. So never call a red comp. Oh, which one are you referring to? The one we just talked about? There, Cole. I know I got to call you Cole now. And I used to call you Cole back in the beginning of our connection. He looks like AI, but I don't know. I am not AI. Far from it. Amanda Rogers. All right. Throwing incentives for the team to right or wrong. Now, Vic, if you're still here, I don't know if you are. You got to enlighten me. Which team are you referring to? Warriors activate Quentin Post. All right. Last time a leader got involved in a sporting event. Oh, okay. No, I got you now. Well, listen. One game at a time. Let's see what happens tonight. We could certainly get into, and we'll get into the game tomorrow, certainly by Wednesday. Last time a leader got involved in a sporting event. Yep. I recall. Bio greetings. No, I agree. It was an atrocious call there, Cole. Why isn't this working? All right, here we go. All right, Fishing Angel USA. Yep. Amped up about the national team. Soccer don't care. Do about our country. Yes, yes, yes. Soccer have legitimate leagues all over the world. There's just one NFL. That's why. Everyone have a wonderful week. Get ready to. Later this week to after service. Okay. Well, I hope all goes well with the doctor's appointment. Yes. You too there, Cole. Yeah. Hey, listen. Holland was impressed. Or was impressive in that game, I should say. Holland got England shaking in their boots. Yeah, that's going to be a great game, too. Norway versus England. Eggs and kegs. That's my bar days. Yeah, eggs and kegs. Yeah, I remember some of those days there, the novice. The Met funeral. Oh. Surrounded with average players. Oh, hang on. Why is this working? Average means replaceable. No, I listen. You can definitely say that. Yes, Huria or hoorah. I guess you pronounce that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Giants. All right, you're back. Thanks for subscribing. I appreciate that, Huria. Now, Glenn, worst stadium in baseball, Tampa. Yeah, the Trop. It is an eyesore. It's a brutal stadium. But they are getting a new stadium, which is going to be in the Tampa area, right by where the Bucks play, and also where the Yankees play too for minor league. So their new owner, who is from the Tampa area, they're going to build a stadium. I'm sure it's going to be domed, covered, etc., for the Rays there on the other side of the bridge. So, but yeah, that is an eyesore. Getting feedback now is big. No, it is, especially with Rodon going out and 92 pitches. Perfect game. Yeah, for one, Eury Perez. Man, it's the best thing for you right here, I tell you. That's the watermelon juice, people, for those watching. And yes, Otto Lopez, what can you say about him? He's been tremendous too. Marlins have overachieved big time. Yes, I wouldn't be happy with that either, Val. Yes, Briella Joe. Oh, wow, 245. Well, I hope all goes well there, Val. Tiger Woods, what's he doing these days? Yeah, he's been on the mend again with another bad leg. And, yeah, I mean, his days of golf are numbered, if not gone altogether. The man can barely walk. I'm going to say Mets, Val. Yeah, he doesn't want the Celtics to make bad trades. Well, he's not a Celtic anymore, so he shouldn't even be worried about it. Rasul Douglas planning to sign a one-year deal. Saw this on X, all right. Yeah, Holland Dan Sock, I know is no longer with us. Hold on. Oh, what is this? I'm hearing the Lakers are going after John. That'd be that'd be a huge plus for the Lakers, I think. Wait. Oh, here we go again with this Epstein. I don't know how I look at it. Listen. Yeah, former player, but he was a player on your team there, Val, and you may see him against them 4 times a year. Is it better to know your team? This guy's a sports fan. I think it's always better to have hope. You don't want to be a team that's out of it and then that's it. Yeah, I have to say the latter. I mean, because right, to know that, listen, if you're in Pittsburgh Pirates or Colorado, I can't say Miami this time around, but yeah, like in those cities, they're already defeated before the season starts, and that's not a good thing because you don't build any momentum. You don't have that period to where you feel like, hey, somehow, some way, if we're still in the pennant race in July, maybe we'll buy, maybe we'll get involved. Whereas when they're already 25 games out, as Colorado is, yeah, rough stuff. No lime today there, Waffle Iron, just straight watermelon juice. I do have half a watermelon in my fridge, which I'm going to add some lime to that as well. All right. Over. Oh, bio. What do I do to stay interested in the second half of baseball? I know. I guess you get a calendar and you start marking those days. So when you wake up tomorrow, July 7th, done. July 21st, done. August 3rd, trade deadline, come and gone. Who do we get? And then those last 2 months, it's tough sledding. What do you do to stay interested? No, that's a good question, especially when your team's 100 games in front. And you just got to grin and bear it. Get to October. Obviously, you're going to have a 1 seed. You don't have to worry about going through the wild card nonsense. Yeah, wait to see who you play, and then boom. Your season begins. The real season begins. All right. Oh, what did I was? Hold on. Like you're a Browns fan. Yeah, yeah, to be a Brown fan where it's perpetual losing year in, year out. Yeah, I'd rather suffer through November and have either a shot or an outside shot than to be 3-8. Because that's just brutal. That's brutal for any team that has a franchise. So imagine this. Let me set the stage here. All right. Let's just say, for argument's sake, I'm just going to throw this one particular team out because of J-Rod. I know he's not in here now, but or maybe he still is. So you look at the Lions. Red Wings haven't won in a long time. Tigers haven't won in a long time. And Pistons. Of course, depending on the season, you're going to go in excited. Oh, this team has a chance, blah, blah, blah. But we know that the Lions have never won. You know the deal. Yeah, I think, to me, I don't want to be that guy. Why isn't this going away? All right. I don't want to be the guy or the fan that goes into a season thinking that we have no shot. There's no way we're going to compete unless you know your team is that bad. But yeah, to me, that takes out the fun. I understand not every team, every year you're going to be contending or you're going to be in the mix as far as the playoffs. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be circumstances that you can't control. All right, I dig it. But I'd rather have that than to start off the year, oh, we got no shot. We're going to be 0-4. Look at our schedule. This is the Lions, of course. Or same with baseball. Oh, look at September. We have a ton of road games. The last 3 at home are 2 weeks before the end of the regular season. We got to go on a long road trip. Yeah, nonsense. But, yeah, but it's one of those things that it's fascinating from this regard. When you have a team that you feel is going to compete year in and year out, at least you know, all right, I know they're going to go spend when they need to spend. It shouldn't be a thing where you go into a season and you're like, oh, well, yeah, we do have a couple of players. We have this, we have that, but we're not going to win anything. And that may be true, but geez, have a little hope. Hope springs eternal, even though hope is not, what is that? I know a lot of Yankee fans have said that about Aaron Boone, where hope is not a result, which is true, but Rui Hachimura signs 3-year deal with Clippers. So look at that. He doesn't even have to go far. Could still stay in the same home where he's at, unless he's renting. I don't know. No, except when they play Pittsburgh. When they play the Steelers, they feel, especially in their building, because they've beaten the Steelers a lot in Cleveland. Browns fans think they can win like the Cowboys fans. Nah, I know the Cowboy fans can be delusional. They haven't won anything in 30 years, but because they are the Cowboys, the star, and they have Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, and yeah. But I'm not going to look at that and think that, that the Cowboys, despite, they can have a good year, 12-5, but unless they go out and dominate and make you really think that, this team is a legit championship contender. But until then, I have to say, Ruiz, my favorite player. Oh, wow. Wow. Sorry to hear that, Bio. I know it's got to be tough. Well, yeah, Jared Verse too. Well, obviously Verse was in the Myles Garrett trade, but yeah. No, I totally get it. All right, Val, good for you. Good to see. Wait, let's put that. Okay. Oh, here we go. Favorite player too. Geez, Vegas Ram. Yep. So here we go. Speech therapy go fine. Yes, it will, Val. 100%. Giants. Yeah, I wouldn't be happy either. As we know, they've had a tough go. But let's see. What else? Anything else? Oh, brother. I know I saw this, but I didn't bring it up. President confirms he asked FIFA to review Balogun red card. Yeah, I'm just looking at this. President said Monday he called FIFA President Gianni Infantino to review the red card given to United States men's national team, Folarin Balogun, as we talked about in the team's match against Bosnia, calling it a horrible call, which it was. I mean, but, and then he quote, all I did was ask for a review. I didn't say you have to do this. This is a smart, tough man, Gianni Infantino. He's a smart, tough man. And his stock has gone through the roof because the job he has done, and it's been great. I feel like we have to have all the best players on the field. Yeah. Yeah, listen. Come on. He's going to have influence here on this thing. I'm not buying that. Anyway. Let's see. What else we got, people? Anything else? Kuminga was good, but I think we didn't use him correctly at the end. Yeah, they didn't really use him that much, that Val. Just wasting his talent there on the bench. You're excited for Conor McGregor to return to UFC this Saturday. And I haven't given you the proper shout-outs. Waffle Iron Walrus, a.k.a. Tatsuya Mai, a.k.a. Minnesota Fats, a.k.a. Cowboy Bull, Dad's Chips, Jonathan Sean Cup, Everyday Mets, Fuqua Johnson. Can't forget that one. That's the big one. Am I excited for Conor McGregor returning? No, not really. Will I even watch? Now, Saturday night, I'll be back. Yeah, I'll be back in home. He's fighting. Is he fighting Max Holloway? Let's look that up real quick. Conor McGregor. Yeah, main event. Max Holloway. Max Holloway. Excuse me. Jeez. Max Holloway says he never expected to get a rematch. Well, he's got one. Good for him. Let's see. Ayuk meltdown continues. Yeah, I know you wanted to go play in Washington because, of course, they played together in college, but I got news for you. This is career suicide unfolding right in front of our eyes. And listen, I don't want to make light of it or ridicule or think that, come on, you got to be better and tougher and this and that. Listen, Naomi, as I talked about earlier, Naomi Osaka with her mental health is going to be much different than anybody else's, or in this case, even Brandon Ayuk, who's sending these crazy video messages where not only do they make you scratch your head, but you really have to say, are you all right? Because, yeah, what does he do now? Yeah, if I was his agent, I'd say, we need to pump the brakes. We need to just cut this all out. Let's go somewhere, a couple of days, decompress, kumbaya, and that's it. I understand easier said than done. I also understand that whatever it is that he's going through personally and even psychologically, that's for him to deal with. Obviously, I'm not a licensed professional, and a lot of people aren't either, and I get it that we're quick to judge and so on and so forth. But with this, I mean, it's as clear as day how he's behaved, responded, followed up, and all that stuff. And you only hope that he could stop this now if he does want to get a job elsewhere, because right now, if I'm a GM, VP of football ops, etc., I'm not signing this guy. I don't care if he catches 100 touchdowns. Let me see. Did I catch up here? No, that's not it. Wait. Of course, no glasses, people. You know how I do. Yeah, he has no agent either. I mean, he's not going to, come on. If he thinks he's going to negotiate a deal himself. And where did I read? Was that Tobias Harris? There was a dad that did an NBA player. I want to say it's Tobias Harris. I'll look that up real quick. Kawhi hires a new agent for next deal. I can't even speak now. Wake up. Kawhi Leonard hires new agent to oversee Raptors deal. Let's see. Robertson. Yeah. And then, yeah, I mean, I've been there, done that. All right. Yeah, I think that'll do it, people. Let me just take a look here. Whoa, what's that? All right. Yeah, that'll do it. There isn't anything else that's going on that I can see here. Oh, I know I touched on this a little bit. It's gruesome to watch. The celebration, Jordan Henderson, when he was going over that signage, and oh, geez. And I would think his status, not granted, it's not his leg, but oh, that was an ugly fracture. Yeah, you're looking at the pictures of. Yeah, nothing else. Yeah, Warriors Pawn, Rasul Douglas signed with the Commanders. What's this? Nah. All right, my good people. I think that's going to do it. Yeah, everything else been caught up. I don't know what else is on your mind. Glenn, I don't know if you're still with us. I think Kawhi had two calls. His uncle was in charge of the legend crooked deal. Yeah, it's not good. You get the family members involved. And yeah, certainly cannot be pretty. Yes, alleged. We do not know for sure. But yeah, who knows? Even with Kawhi now in LA, in Toronto, you would still think that the consequences and repercussion of that aspiration deal where they funneled the money to aspiration, I mean, that still's got to be on the table, does it not? Well, all of a sudden he gets traded. All right, let's forget about it. No. What's wrong with Giants pitching? Well, that's the thing, too, Val. I know the Giant pitching, not great. And, you know, they played in that ballpark. And that ballpark, I mean, listen, it's a joke. It's a bandbox. The thin air, that ball travels out of that park. And the thing is, it's one of the most cavernous, especially left field. But, yeah, not when you have an altitude like that. So. All right, guys, bear with me for 1 second before I sign off. I just want to turn on the air because I've been doing it without the air for the first, hour and a half. And, yeah, it's getting a little sticky in here. So bear with me 1 second. myself over. And better yet, glasses. Because I always forget them. Thank you, Val. Appreciate that always. Yeah, is it going to be in the light? Oh, no, it doesn't. Let me see. Oh, yeah, if I sit up that way. See, now much better. Now I don't look like I got my head hung, ready to just hit into the microphone. No. What do we got? Hot take. Rankings Emmy East as comes today. Raptors won. I don't know if I'd pick them one because I don't know how healthy Kawhi Leonard's going to be next year. Now, to me, I like to see him play 70 games. Play 70 games, they're going to be really good. Are they a 1 seed? I can't say that. Knicks 2. Sixers. Yeah, Hawks, Celtics. Hawks are because they're young. Celtics. Well, you're not putting Miami up there. Not even in the top 5? I would probably take Hawks out, Miami in. I think the Hawks can as a 6 seed. And they were what? They were a 6 seed this past year, were they not? Yeah, because the Knicks were 3rd. Hang tight. Let me think for a sec. Yeah. I don't know. If I had to rank top 5 in the East right now, yeah, I'd probably say, listen, out of respect, I'll put Knicks 1. Yeah, and I understand the records change. It's just by division. It doesn't go like that. How's Indiana going to play this year? Halliburton back? No, I wouldn't put the Pacers there, though. All right, let's see. Yeah, Knicks 1. I won't say Heat 2. I'd say I could see Heat 3 or 4. Maybe I'll put the Sixers 2. So you got what? Knicks, Sixers, Heat, Raptors, Celtics, maybe. I think that'd be my top 5. So it's Knicks, Sixers, Heat, Raptors, Celtics. That would be my top 5. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. Well aware there, Val. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, we go back and forth on that. In the East, it's Oh, Bio got 76ers 1. Yep. Hawks played it, which is crazy to think. Knicks 2. Yeah, Indiana. Oh, so you're putting Indiana 2 then. Hold on. Listen, they'll be better. Are they a 2 seed? I don't know. Yeah, that's going to be fascinating next year. Raptors, Pacers, Knicks, Sixers, Hawks. All right, Waffle Iron. That's I like the bold takes. I do like that. Ayuka CCT. Yeah, Ayuka he's out there. Big time. Yeah, it's just sad. It's sad to see anybody, player, whomever, go through something like that. All right. Hold on. I'll just leave that there. All right. Yeah, I think that's going to be about it, people. Unless you got some stuff on your mind, want to keep this chat going. Yeah, everything else has been spoken about. I'm not going to manufacture anything. Also, that Dimitrov Ferry match is suspended. Maybe there's weather involved. Yeah, they couldn't bring him back. NBA execs react to the shocking Jaylen Brown trade. Well, yeah, they couldn't bring him back. We understand why. All right. Let's go back. What's this? Ayuk. I'm the one to go to 49. Yes, Val, of course. No, definitely not. Yes. And yes, Ayuk. All right, guys. I think that may just do it. Unless you got some more stuff on your mind, more stuff you want to share, get into. Now we're starting to get. Listen, I know this week you'll have a lot of the World Cup stuff. NBA will die down, NHL. Really, you're going to have soccer, baseball, tennis. Unless something surfaces here over the next few days. But we got 12 noon Eastern on the live stream come Wednesday. Another podcast coming at you Thursday. So, I'll be around. And we'll see how the game unfolds tonight, whether or not I go on live tonight. Or I may do it tomorrow. I know the game starts at 8. By the time everything ends, it'll be after 10. But, yeah, unless there's something that has to be brought up in the moment, then, yeah, I think I'll just wait until the morning to talk about that. But, yeah, I'll go into my closing, and then I'll come back to your comments if need be, whatever's on your mind. So that'll do it. Another episode just about the books, my good people. Thank you so much for stopping by, carving out precious time out of your day. And a few that jumped in on the room and subscribed today, thank you, guys and gals, so much. That means the world, means a lot. Slowly but surely getting there. I'm about, 12, 13 away from 1,300. Hoping to multiply that by the days, by the weeks, by the months. Hell with that. How about by the seconds? And this is where I need your help. If it's true, independent, passionate sports talk you're looking for without the clickbait, rage bait, fluff that you may see on other channels, this is the channel for you. Whether you're a casual, diehard sports fan, or anywhere in between, please hit that subscribe button. Again, it'll go a long way to increase the visibility of this podcast, and this channel, I should say, with all the others that are out there. So if you could do that, I would sincerely and greatly appreciate it. And also, as I mentioned earlier, on Apple, Spotify, or whichever podcast platform you listen to, make sure you subscribe there on top of throwing me a few stars, writing a review. I would sincerely appreciate that. Hey, Magoo, it's been a while. Yes. What is happening? Good to see you. Hang on there one second, Magoo. If you want to hit me up with any questions, comments, suggestions, you can do so at the following: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, the J Reels Podcast, or J Reels on Instagram, Twitter, J Reels 1, just the number, Twitch, J Reels 1, just the number, or the old-fashioned way, the J Reels Podcast at gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to follow up with you guys and gals, because whether you do or do not know, there's what I love to do, people, in the blood and the DNA since birth, as you already know. I mean, where else are you going to get in one podcast? Baseball, basketball, tennis, the World Cup. You got to listen to 4 other podcasts to get into that, which is fine. And I understand you got your go-tos, which, hey, no harm, no foul. But when you get them all right here in one shot and then live, unedited, living color, etc., I mean, please, doesn't get any better than that. So, as long as I'm sitting in front of this microphone and camera, I promise I'll deliver nothing but passion, fire, energy, fury with my thoughts, opinions, critiques, praise, analysis, feelings on anything and everything that's happening on the world of the diamond, ice, gridiron, hardwood, golf course, racetrack, tennis court, boxing ring, octagon, you name it. From my lips to your ears, from my heart to your soul, for I am to wherever you are, The J Reels podcast always comes correct, direct, and in full effect. From the South Bronx, the South Beach, the South Central, the South Pacific, and all points beyond. Peace, love, and God bless everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll reconnect, I would think sometime tomorrow when they pop up live, but for sure, Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern. You already know. Until next time on the J Reels podcast, on the flip, baby. Now, Magoo, where have you been? What's going on? I'm curious. Good to see you on here. Looks like you're doing well. Hope you're doing well. We can start there. Yeah, absolutely. Same here. Without question. Anything new? Anything happening? Anything going on? Curious to know. Yeah, I'm wrapping up the podcast here. The good usual turnout from everybody, which I, as always, truly appreciate. Just going through the sites to make sure that I'm up to speed on what's happening. Let me see. All right. Yeah, I got to read that. That'd be interesting. All right. But yeah, besides that, though, Magoo, all in all, here we go. What you got here? Just working, taking care of kids. Good for you, man. Keep doing that. Is that right? Oh, that is awesome, man. Congrats. That's some great news to hear. Good for you, Magoo. And may that sucker be in remission forever. That's going the other way. It's scared because you keep fighting that good fight. Good for you. Bio, as always. Have a great sports day to you as well. I didn't get your thoughts, Bio. I know you probably maybe you've signed off on the game last night. But no, that is awesome, Magoo. Look at this. In remission, no more cancer. I mean, are there 3 better words to read or hear, listen, etc.? Yeah, maybe I love you, or those are another 3 words. I got paid, maybe. That's another good one. But hey, no more cancer. When it comes to the health, people, we already know that supersedes anything. 1,000%. And just to read that, awesome. Yeah, love seeing having everyone a great time. Yeah, no, it's been tremendous. I talked about at the very top how the crowds have been great. And the games, I mean, listen, the games over the past few days, it doesn't get any better than that. And let's see if what tonight could do for an encore, whether or not U.S. will advance. And same for Portugal, as they're going to be the underdog against Spain. That's at 3 o'clock. So got to make sure to get locked in to watch that. Oh, 3. There you go. Those are 3 words that I would certainly, that would be music to my ears. Fire David Stearns. Waffle Iron. We can only hope. But the owner's saying, I'm not going to do it. The Mets. Val keeping score, which I love always. Appreciate that, Val. But yeah, that is it, people. Yes, even Val has to say from 3,000 miles away, fire David Stearns. What a disaster. Yeah, that's another thing too. You've seen the interviews outside the stadium. I don't know. Never been much of a ranch guy myself. And makes you think, look, other parts of the world don't have that. I guess that is more of an American thing. But yeah, they love it. And it's kudos to them. That's funny though. Yeah, I don't know. Hey, to each his own. They love the ranch. I'm sure they had it with their wings or who knows, but kudos to them. All right, guys. So with that said, enjoy the rest of your Monday. Oh, hang on, Waffle. What you got? I'm so invested in the Mets. Yeah, I know. The funny thing is that I didn't watch any other games closely over the weekend. Yeah, the last full Met game I've watched this year. Yeah, you too, man. Oh, was that fake care? I know what you meant. Take care. Nah, you too, Magoo. Thanks for stopping by. Oh, look at this, Cole. You get me for a couple more minutes. I was just about to sign off. Yeah, I know. The last full Met game I watched. I gotta look at this. Just even think about it. It's embarrassing. No, but I did see. Yeah, the Brave series, the Friday night game. Boy, let me think. Who do they play after that? It's coming to me. Yeah, wasn't that the week? No, the following week is when I went to Miami. Yeah, the Sunday game. That was a brutal game. Yeah, it's been it's at least a couple of weeks since I've watched a Met game from start to finish. That's how bad. Fishing games at the doctor's office outside waiting for. Okay, how's she doing? Everything all right with her there, Cole? Yeah, listen, I can see it. Although I don't know, Belgium. No, but listen, if they win 3-1 the U.S., would I be shocked? I would not. But that's gonna be a great game, I think. Yep, Hachimura with the Clippers. All right. Oh, just a checkup. All right, that's good. Yeah, hope all goes well there. And what about your health there, Cole? How you feeling? How's your health been cooperating, I hope, as of late? I'm going to be all right if I can't. Oh. You should be able to get on your phone, no? Oh, awesome. Yeah, going to be all right. Yeah, you should get it on your phone, I would think. Good to see. Glad about that, Cole. You already know. Yeah, I tell you. Our health, man, is the most important thing. And there is not a price tag. I know for some there is when it comes to surgeries and enhancements and things of that nature, but yeah, just to try to fight off whatever cancer cells, the diseases, all that stuff. I mean, and nobody says you got to eat impeccable, but obviously especially as you get older. Here I am now sounding like a nutritionist / philosophist. You can get on your phone if you pay. Yeah, even then, wow. Fox, they wouldn't have a trial? Like, hey, 7 days, you get the app for free. None of those? Well, hopefully you get to watch it, though. I mean, that's the biggest game in forever. Again, to try to get to a quarterfinal. The last time we saw that was what? 2002? Where were those games at? Oh, South Korea, Japan. All right. If I can't get Fox. Wow, look at that. J-Rod into the soccer. Or Cole for today. The Valkyries and Giants play today. Yeah, Mets have their final wrap around 7:15 tonight. 1931, third place. That's our best finish. Yeah, yes. 90. What was that? 96 years? Jeez. Incredible. Listen, we understand U.S. isn't a powerhouse, but to think it's been that far. Yeah, that's why that game tonight is fascinating. Looking forward to it. And the thing is, I'll be at my in-laws tonight where we'll watch, hopefully be able to watch the whole thing because I know that they are catching a flight tomorrow. So, but yeah, but I'll be over it. All right, guys, I think with that being said, I will bid adieu. Salute to you all. Much love. Thank you, Val, for your support, for your time, your energy, everything. So, and we have the one bronze. Yep, that's it. Cole got it right there. Look at this. Just as I'm ready to log off, sign off, he's back. I may be just a couple more minutes, Mark, just so you know. So I don't want you to think that I'm cutting this off because you jumped on. Oh, yeah. It's possible there, Cole. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised. Although the matchup in the next round is going to be very interesting, but hey, we worry about it then. Can't worry about that now. And that's true. You did say that. Yeah, I'm not going to be here much longer, at least for today, but obviously back on Wednesday, you know the times, tomorrow. I mean, barring anything crazy tonight, I may do a live tonight, but if not, tomorrow for sure. As we've cooled off here in the tri-state area. And in fact, what's the temperature right now? It's probably like 74 degrees, drizzling. And remember, it was in the hundreds. It gets in the mid-80s by Wednesday. So that's what you got. Belgium is scared. There's butthurt. The red card got overturned. Yeah, they are. They are butthurt. But I almost feel like that's going to work to their advantage. As I've said earlier, I think you got the gist of that at the beginning of the podcast. I don't know. Oh, and you're right about that. No, I totally agree with you on that. That was a bogus call. Bogus. Should have never happened. All right, where did I? Whoop. All right, guys. Mark, do I think Bonds deserves Hall of Fame? Listen, at this point, because they're putting in the Harold Baineses and put them in. Put them all in. These guys were great. I understand steroids took it to the next level. But on their plaque, asterisk to say that there's alleged use of PEDs, therefore inflating the numbers, etc. That's all. End of story. And is Robot coming to play tonight? I know. Now he wants to take bows for, even though he said, oh, it was just a suggestion, but to have Balogun come back tonight. Yeah, so. Hold on. Yeah, I know. I'm always looking to see if anything else has popped up here. No. All right. Oh, also Peacock. Oh, is that right? Oh, that's cool. 30-minute preview. Now, what if you go to their Yeah, because the games aren't they free on Telemundo? I think. Well, I'm sure they have an app. I would think you would watch it there. What's this? I believe barricades. Barry's what? 59, 60? You can't put it past them, but how much you paying him? Does it really matter what he said? No, it definitely was. But, the coach, you never know. They use that as incentive. They use that as, look at this, they're bringing this guy back. Now let's really show him. You never know. Oh, it's on the Peacock now? Of course. Did not realize that. No, I appreciate that clarification there, Anonymous, because I was clueless. Yes, fire David Stearns. When will they? I don't think they're going to fire him this year. We'll see what happens in the offseason. But the owner, who's going to stick to his comments, he's not going to fire him. At least not this year. All right. Yeah, just waiting for a couple of comments if they do pop. Here we go. I get what you're saying. Pushing Belgium, I agree with that. Yeah, because now this is a different scenario, but it's almost like, let's say in the NFL, if a guy was on the injured list and he's on, and then on the last day, oh, he's on the injury list. He's going to play on Sunday. It's like, oh, all right, good. Let's go. Now, this is a little bit different because then the coach came out and said, oh, it's April Fool's Day again, which I understand. He's not happy. Listen, I'm sure you don't need to put truth serum in him to say, or for him to say that, oh, yeah, that shouldn't have been called. There shouldn't be a red card, etc. But he's trying to get every advantage. And now that I think about it, let me look up. What was the score of that game in March? $5-2. Wow. Yeah, so 5-2. That was back March 28th. Let's see. Possession fouls, yellow cards. Yeah, 5-2 is the game. And the thing is, U.S. scored in the 39th minute. And then after that, he just got bludgeoned. 45th minute, 53rd minute, 59th. That was a penalty kick. 68th minute, 82nd minute, and then U.S. scored at the 87th minute. Yeah, I mean, that was decisive. And I don't know if Balogun was in the lineup that day. I'm assuming that he was. And we'll see what happens. That's always sports. Oh, thank you, Val. Truly appreciate that. Yeah, no, I hear you, Jay. No, we're here. You know that. As sports fans, 100%. Thank you, Val. So, yeah, let me see. Let's check one last thing, and then they'll sign off. Nope. All right. Yeah, that's it. USA goalkeepers, the difference. He stands on a set tonight. Yeah, see that. 8 o'clock. And the Spain-Portugal game's in 2 hours. So definitely looking forward to that too. All right, my good people. Until tomorrow, and obviously Wednesday, appreciate you guys. You know that. As always, until next time, on the flip.